We go now to Castlewood, South Dakota, and Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem. Good morning to you, Madam Secretary.
Good morning.
Well, DHS calls this the largest operation in its history, nearly 3,000 federal agents out there. Is this an open-ended deployment, or is there a metric for success that ends it?
Well, I think every day we get a murderer off the streets of Minneapolis, the public is safer, and President Trump is keeping his promise to the American people.
No! No! Shame! Shame! Oh my f***ing God!
And we literally have arrested and detained thousands of illegal criminals.
Do not talk to them! You f***ing assholes!
In Minnesota since President Trump came back into the White House. And I've never met a family that ever said, oh, I wish you would have left that rapist free. I wish you would have left that murderer on the streets. So.
She is speaking out about a new federal report that claims private contractors working for ICE are breaking the rules and barely facing consequences.
This includes thousands of cases in which the health and safety of the detainees were at risk. Here's Denver 7's Jessica Porter.
This report details a huge failure on ICE's part to hold its contractors accountable at detention facilities all over the country, including this one right here in Aurora. There was a vigil held tonight, and activists tell me that they don't need a report to know what's going on inside.
Shut it down!
We're here tonight to say no. We're here to tell Congress and to tell the president no more funding.
An inspector general report finds ICE is doing little to hold private contractors accountable for what goes on in detention centers, even in cases of sexual assault, employee misconduct, and use of tear gas on detainees. Activists say healthcare is the main concern at the Aurora facility.
There have been 2 deaths in this facility the problem is that there's not adequate health care.
The report says in 14,000 cases where a detainee's safety was in jeopardy, ICE only fined the contractor twice. And worse, issued waivers to facilities with deficient conditions, exempting them from standards.
We're just so thankful that we have a president that's upholding the law and is determined to make sure that the laws are applied equally to everyone.
For months, masked federal agents have aggressively engaged with protesters in several states while carrying out the president's immigration directives. Shooting pepper balls into faces, using cars to move people, and even employing chokeholds on protesters, tactics endorsed by President Trump.
Americans have been watching videos of ICE tackling a young mother, tear gas being used in a Chicago residential neighborhood, and the smashing of car windows. Have some of these raids gone too far?
No, I think they haven't gone far enough because we've been held back by the judges, by the liberal judges that were put in by Biden and by Obama.
You're okay with those tactics?
Yeah, because you have to get the people out.
Hey, shalom, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai, double honors to the apostles, elders, and all you brothers pushing the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai in all truth and sincerity. Standing on our watch as the Lord commanded us, you see that this devil, according to Nahum, where the Lord said, he'll show the nations thy shame. The whole world is watching America and their filth and their wickedness, which is beautiful because we understand that their judgment is nigh at hand. Our warfare is almost accomplished, as I tell you in Lamentation, and it's about time for Esau to drink of that cup of violence, slavery, his kingdom being destroyed, and that's biblical prophecy. And we rejoice, because the scriptures say in Luke, when you see all these things happening, Trump starting World War III, Civil War, lift up thy head, for thy redemption is nigh. Because the Lord says he's going to cause turmoil between the Egyptian to the Egyptian, that they shall fight one another, when you read Isaiah 19:2. And that's because of all the violence that they did against the children of Israel. When you read Matthew, the 11th chapter, when the Lord said the kingdom of violence suffereth violent, and the violent take it by force, it was talking about the Greco-Roman Empire, which is an extension of America. So what the world is seeing right now is nothing but the white man being the devil that he's always been. That facade of faith, our facade of civil rights and equal liberty is all bullshit. They use that to pacify the uprisings of the so-called Negroes, Native Americans, and so-called Latinos that's in this country, which are the 12 tribes of Israel. Because our people never advanced. We're still in the ghettos 100 years ago. We're still in the ghettos to this day. The reservation is nothing but a ghetto. But the Lord, and now the concentration camps and all this wickedness that they're doing, the whole world is, America's on display for the evil, nasty whore that sitteth on the beast as it prophesied. So we know before the Lord burned this place and have NATO and the rest of the countries hate this whore and burn her, the Lord said he would expose her. And we rejoice at that. Because the Lord said, what's that, Proverbs 28:5? It said, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. We understand that this man's judgment's about to come. So all the things that's happening with ICE, Christy Gnomes, which is a oxymoron because her name means anointed thinker or peaceable, that bitch is the devil. And, you know, trained very well by the elites and how to divert questions when she was spoken about how they use chemical warfare where the country said not to. They use a flash bomb and messed up the little six-month-old infant. The mother had to do CPR, which that's fulfilling prophecy where Zechariah 11:5 said the possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty. And the Lord said in Amos 1:11 that all these things and the violence and all the stuff you did to the children of Israel is why you're going to be judged. So it says, evil men understand not judgment, but they that seek the Lord understand all things. So we rejoice when we see this man being shown as the devil he is. It's evidence before the Lord ultimately put that judgment on display. As I tell you in Revelation 18 that all nations shall see the whore get burnt, and that whore is America. I said there's on many waters. This is that whore. This is Babylon the Great. This is the kingdom of Edom, the Greco-Roman Empire, the kingdom or the statue that Daniel seen that was mixed with iron and murray clay because it's garbage. And our Lord that is that great millstone that's going to come and destroy it. So that's judgment. And when you read Psalms 140, King David even prayed that the Lord protect us from the violent man. And you know that was prophecy because in King David's day, he didn't need no protection. They needed protection from him. So we understand it's beautiful watching things on the CNN and everything unfold and them ripping people out of cars and everything out of houses. Talking about, oh, we're violent because people call us the Gestapo. You are the goddamn Gestapo. The same playbook that Nazi Germany used, they're using now. From having check marks, having soldiers, which a lot of those ICE soldiers are, Spirit telling me that they're mercenaries. That's why they're not even U.S. citizens. That's why they cover their faces. Not just to protect themselves because they know they're doing something wicked, but they've been having foreign U.S. soldiers trained on this soil to attack the American people the way they're attacking. Because people that's really from here, they don't attack their own family like that. That's why they got robots and everything else. That's all the devices of the devil and Satan, and that's fine. Do what you got to do. Because the Lord said, for your violence and your wickedness, he's going to come out of his place when you read Isaiah the 26th chapter, the last verse. To punish, going into the 27th chapter where he says he's going to punish Leviathan, that crooked serpent. Esau is that crooked serpent. He's the leopard that can't change his spot. This man's the devil. And if anybody had any motherfucking doubts about it, the Lord has him on full display with his horns out before that nuclear missile hit him. And it's beautiful. And then it's twofold because the Lord is taking out our people who trusted in oppression, who trust in his government, who voted and think their vote matters. Your vote don't mean shit. It's all about the elites and that facade of or illusion of making it seem like you got choices to stop you from uprising. But the Lord said, who shall rouse them up? Not just the Egyptian going against the Egyptian. When you read Genesis the 49th chapter, the Lord said, who shall rouse Judah up? And when you read Zechariah the 9th chapter, the Lord said, you're going to put Judah and Ephraim together as a bow and rise against you sons of Greece. So that's the inevitable. But right now, the Lord is disposing all the tactics of the devil, being the devil that he has since the beginning of his reign of terror on aka America, United States, aka America, Babylon the Great, aka spiritually Sodom and Gomorrah. This is their MO. Because the scripture said, thus with violence shall Babylon the Great be destroyed. Why? Because violence they have displayed, this is what they came up with. That was Esau's blessing. It was a catch-22. When Jacob got the birthright, Esau cried to Isaac. Isaac gave him one more blessing, the sword, which is what you call that, secondary prize. You know, the first place is the kingdom of heaven, which should never be moved. But the second place prize they're getting is this ragged ass kingdom that's full of diseases. The air is polluted, the water is polluted, it's filthy, and they polluted it. And they're blessing with the sword that they're gonna take everything with violence and through force and weaponry. That whole plight is about to be put on their head. That's why Revelation 13:9 and 10, speaking of judgment, say, he that leadeth in captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. This is the patience and faith of the saints. That's why watching everything going on with ICE, and they show you how they got people in the chains, how they're raping people, they're murdering people, they're extorting people. That's the devil's MO, John 10 and 10. But we know that their judgment's coming. And to tell you that very clearly, I tell you that in Psalm 7 and 16. Read that real quick. And then Psalms 140 and 11. Get Psalms 7 and 16 real quick. This is Psalms. Start 15. He made a pit and digged it and is fallen into the ditch which he made. All the violence and wickedness that he done, that's the ditch that he's made. I tell you in Isaiah the 24th chapter that the Lord's going to visit the ones that's on high, the kings of the earth, and put their ass in ditches. It said, his mischief shall return upon his own head, and his violent dealings shall come down upon his own pate. And what's the violent dealings? Everything that we're seeing on TV, dragging people out their houses, their cars, put people in concentration camps. Everything that they've done, the Lord said they're going to receive double. They shall reap what they sow. When you read Galatians 6 and 7. Spiritually and physically, they have sown wickedness and madness and mischief, and the Lord's going to bring all that upon their head. And that's biblical prophecy. That's why we get so happy when we see these things and rejoice in the Spirit through the Yahweh B'Shem Yahushua, because we know something terrible is about to come his way. Something violent is going to come his way like he had never seen before through heaven and earth. The Lord said he's going to come back and put a foot in his ass, and he said he's going to use his people Israel to do and eat them according to his anger, his violence. His do violent and anger and eat them according to his anger. That's prophesied, Ezekiel the 25th chapter. Let me go right to the judgment. Psalms 140 and 11. It says, let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. And who's the evil speaker? Trump is a mouthpiece of the so-called elites, the international bankers that control the strings behind the scenes. They tell you that in that early morning movie, 1984, where it said, look, they don't hold no position of power, but they control everything behind the scenes. That's why it's called the shadow government. And whoever figurehead they got in there is just a representation of them. So it says, let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. And all they're speaking about is evil. Bad times. Taking over Greenland. Taking over the cities with martial law. Taking over the world. Bombing. Nuclear bomb. Drone strikes. Stealing people out of their homes, their castle. Even so-called dignitaries or presidents of other countries. This is the violent man. It says, let not an evil speaker be established in the earth. Speaking of the New World Order, the 1,000 points of light. That's evil speaking. Evil shall hunt the violent man to overthrow him. I know that the Lord will maintain the cause of the afflicted and the right of the poor. Surely the righteous shall give thanks unto the name. The upright shall dwell in thy presence. And who's the upright? The elect, the ones who truly believe and honor and glorify the name of Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. And when you understand and sup with Yahweh Yahushai, you understand what's going on and the judgments that's happening in this present world. And that's why it says, lift up thy head and understand what's coming. Like I tell you in Proverbs 28:5, evil men understand not judgment, but ye that seek the Lord understand all things. So with that, all praises to Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahushai. Stay on watch, stay diligent, and hasten that the Lord destroy this place, so he make Israel a praise on this earth. Shalom to the elect, hell with 2/3, and all that heathen.
By now, you've probably seen this video from Minneapolis, a woman being dragged from her car while driving through a protest against President Trump's immigration crackdown. She was arrested 2 blocks from where an ICE agent shot and killed Renee Good a week before. You heard her screaming, "I'm disabled," as agents carried her by her arms and her legs from her own car. Tonight, we know her name, Alia Rahman. And in just a minute, you'll hear from her for the first time in an exclusive interview. Alia says she was never part of the protest that day. She was simply just trying to go to her doctor's appointment. But in a statement, the Homeland Security Department called Rahman a, quote, agitator, adding she, quote, ignored multiple commands by an officer to move her vehicle away from the scene. She was arrested for obstruction. The Minneapolis Police Chief, Brian O'Hara, he watched the video. He sees it differently.
Obviously, I don't know why law enforcement officers initially approached the vehicle. It pisses me off to see that. To see men doing that to a woman who's disabled. It pisses me off. If those cops works for me, they'd have a problem right now.
With me now, Alia Rahman and her attorney, Alexa Van Brunt. Thank you both for being here. Alia, I want to start with you because this has been viral. People have seen this video over and over again. People have many opinions. This is what happened to you. It is your life. It is your journey. But the government, they're calling you an agitator. So can you just help me understand? Walk me through what happened in those moments before these agents dragged you from your car.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Laura. And happy birthday, Dr. King. I'm really happy that you asked this question, right? Because I have been so concerned that folks might be distracted from the real issue at hand by instead debating why I proceeded slowly through a militarized traffic jam full of pedestrians and a cacophony of conflicting instructions. I was on my way to the doctor. I was on a main road that is a direct road from my house to the parking lot. Suddenly there's traffic in the road. There are vehicles blocking it ahead, vehicles that later I understood were ICE vehicles. People around me trying to understand what to do. And I think that you see the rest.
So you weren't, I mean, in the beginning of the video, you see the federal agents saying something to you before you were dragged out. They say, but you were given what they call repeated warnings. I just heard you say this cacophony of conflicting commands. What were they saying to you? What did you understand to be happening?
Well, I think I didn't understand what was happening, right? I am a disabled person who has autism, right? That is a big piece of this. But I think even someone who doesn't have the kind of auditory processing challenges I do would not know what to do with the sentence, move. I will break your effing window. And then back and forth between move, get out, trying to open my door, more threats of breaking a window, which I don't understand the functional purpose of, and it's not a warning, it's a threat of violence that really shouldn't be packaged with an instruction. Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to tell you about what my ears hear in that situation, but in my ears, my autism also comes with an auditory sorting challenge where multiple human voices at like a loud party or on a chaotic street all sound like they're the person talking to me. So that's one reason, you see me looking and trying to identify which lips are talking to me. But of course, that's not possible because ICE officers wear things that cover their mouths and faces except for their eyes, right?
So it is so informative for you to explain what it was personally like for you, for us to have watched the video and now to understand at least a part of what you were experiencing in that, because there is a conflicting report from their vantage point that tries to explain what you were thinking or feeling, and you've done it yourself. But I want to be clear, you say you were not there to protest ICE. You were there on your way to an appointment, and you stopped in the traffic, and I got the conflicting reports and commands. Were you there to protest ICE? Had you ever protested ICE before in that arena?
No.
So when you went that day and you were detained, as you said, what was that like for you once you were? What happened after they took you?
Number one, I experienced a very specific set of dehumanization practices during the 6 stages of detention and processing that I counted before I went unconscious and was taken out in an ambulance. Number 2, during every one of those stages, I clocked ICE agents doing things that indicated they were not aware of what their job was or how to do it. Lots of, where's this? What do we do next? Really? Agents had to stop at all 5 stages. Agents had to stop, ask someone else what to do, where basic things were. There were local staff who seemed to know some of that thing, but I distinctly heard 2 of them at one point say to each other, we don't want to step on ICE's toes, when I was trying to get medical care. And the third is that the practices I experienced with like my own body, ears, and eyes do not make sense to me as an immigration or public safety strategy, because they make things less safe. And honestly, I was not separated from a citizen of any other country. I think people believe this is just immigrants in there, and it is not. I was told that if I were a normal human, nothing would be a problem.
They said that to you.
We have now heard from, oh yeah. When I asked for disability accommodations, and I said, did anybody bring my cane with me from the car? I need that to walk, not stand, but walk, because my balance is bad. They said, there's no canes here. They stood me up in leg irons and said, walk, push my back. Walk, you can do it. Nobody said, maybe we should find something else. There was no medical screening. I was never once asked for my ID, even told I was under arrest, never charged.
Wow.
And when I sat there and somebody finally noticed I was not able to balance, even sitting, and they said, I think there might have been a wheelchair around here the other day, because I kept asking, can you at least get a wheelchair? People said, I don't even know if we have those. That's not the answer to that question. That's never should be happening. And when they put me in the wheelchair, finally, an officer said, wait, you were driving, right? So your legs do work.
What?
I refrained from saying, I refrained from saying, hey, have you ever seen a handicap parking spot, sir? What? But the thing is, right, people are going to say, well, none of that stuff is illegal. It's just mean. But I have read too many books to think that things are okay when this level of dehumanization is happening, because it means officers are probably trying to get through their day when they have been given orders that are not righteous and they are to hurt people.
Alexa, I have to ask you, and Ali, you have to forgive me, my own sister is mobility impaired. And she drives with the assistance, had to accommodate and adapt her car so many different times to be able to still function and live in the standard that she wants to. I get emotional thinking about it, but my blood is boiling thinking about that experience. So can you just describe from the legal perspective of it?
Yeah.
She was detained. The DHS says that she was arrested for obstruction.
Yeah.
Are you aware if she is facing any charges? I have to, for a second, compartmentalize the dehumanization just to get through the question. You have to forgive me. Have you heard that she is facing any charges?
I have not heard, and it would, if she were, they would be completely baseless, because the people who violated laws at that scene were the DHS officers. And in particular, every officer in the way they treated her once they found out she had a disability, because Alia was very upfront about it. She told the officers, I am a woman with a disability. I have autism. She yelled it. You can hear it on the video. And they escalated at that point and then subjected her to a very brutal use of force, pulling her out of the car, slamming her down on the ground, and then carrying her like an animal is the only way to describe it. That violates every police standard and how you're supposed to interact with somebody in a car. And it violates every standard in how you're supposed to interact with somebody with a disability.